Okay, so what's my story? You guys ever hear somebody tell their entrepreneurial story? Like read a book like Googleplex, or the Amazon, the Jeff Bezos story, or some of these, these books that come out and tell the entrepreneurial story. Isn't it great? And they have these little things. They used to have these little timelines. Like, oh, I remember when. Started in a garage. And then I made this whole sequence of brilliant decisions that ultimately culminated in my wild success. Right? That's pretty much the formula. It's the cult of personality. It's a little crazy. So let's see if we can dispel some of that. Because guess what? I was an entrepreneur. I built a company. And we peaked at about 87 people. We built fuel cells. You guys have all had an electrochemistry class at some point, right? Built fuel cells. Yes. For the one audience where you guys actually know what electrochemistry is. Right? So, right? Exciting stuff. It also took 10 years. And in the end of 10 years, we sold our company. People got paid out. They realized the value of what they created. It was acquired by another company who is off and running and doing things with it today. Right? It sounds like a great story. The story is actually a lot more complicated because the story really started with, yes, I actually literally did start as the guy in the garage, but even before that, I was the PhD student, just like you, right? And this was my thesis, microfabrication by co-extrusion. And you see the names below mine? Those are the other 3 people on the planet who may have read it, right? So I know my thesis advisor did because he like inked every page. God bless the man. These 2, maybe, right? That's how the world really works. And what that really means, if we put it in a little formula, is I could make stuff, right? I was really good. I'm a material scientist. I'm an engineer. You give me a bag of powder, and I can take that powder and look at all those fancy submicron shapes and geometries that I can construct. Absolutely zero commercial value, right? No one wants a little piece of lead zirconate titanate, a little piezo ceramic that looks like that. Nah, turns out no. But I made it, and it was cool, and I collaborated with people and had a lot of fun. So how many of you think you have research like that too? You doing cool stuff? You have publications? Creating and contributing to the greater scientific body of knowledge? Good for you. I did too, kind of. I didn't publish nearly as much, right? So I didn't have anything. But I realized that I could make something. I could make powders into shapes. So then you go start to look for who needs powders and shapes. And you might think that in 2000, 15 years ago, I said, you know what, I'm going to make fuel cells. They're going to be small tubular fuel cells, and I'm going to sell them to the military and to the remote industrial marketplace, and they're going to put them in Alaska and all over the place, all over the world, right? Not really. Because on day one, all I could think of was I have bags of, turns out solid oxide fuel cells are made from powders. I can shape powders. So I'm going to make powders into tubular shapes, and people are going to give me money. So I literally convinced the US government, because I told them, look, there's this thing called the fuel cell. I didn't actually know how it worked, right? But it's made from powders, and I can make powders. So let me make a miniature fuel cell, because I heard you want fuel cells for soldiers. So do that. And they did, right? So all I could do at that point was make a tube. Then we said, look, see the tube? See? See? How many of you have ever published a paper that's something like this? Here's my compound, my molecule, my film, my whatever. Right? There it is. I made a tube. Right? Far, far, far cry from a system that could be sold and used by real people. Right? It's just a ceramic tube. But I said, you know what? We made a tube. And not only that, but look at that. Curves. My tube got better. See how it started with a little curve and it got to be a bigger curve? Right? So you should give me more money. Right? And they did. And they said, okay, you should give me more money because I'm going to take a tube, and guess what? Turns out, piece of cake. I'm going to build a fuel cell system. So I'm taking this little ceramic tube that operates at 800 degrees Celsius. No problem. Some fuel, some air, some insulation. Bada bing, bada boom, got a system. Right? Then I had to go back and say, huh, that's harder than we thought. I'm going to need more money. Right? And turns out they were able to give us more money because we kept saying what? Do we keep talking about our research? What has been the theme in every one of these sentences?
Benefit. Value.
The benefit and value to, in this case, our funding agency, the U.S. government and the soldier. Right? Even though we were far removed, even though we were fundamental, I mean, look, bags of powder and a tube was so far from the actual system. Even though we screwed up, oops, didn't work, need more money. And this was, oops, no one actually wants to buy that. We need more money to build a different thingy, right? But ultimately we did figure it out, and we built a system that went into a small unmanned aerial vehicle and flies airplanes instead of batteries, right? So go electrochemistry. Fuel cells better than batteries, right? And what evolved through all of that description? How did I start to describe the benefit, and how did I finally describe the benefit? Right? How did he start to describe his benefit? You did a nice job, unfortunately. You're really hurting my teaching point here, right? What was evolving through all of that? So I started out what I pitched first. I'm going to make a tube, right? Small tube. Then what did I pitch?
A different tube.
A different tube, and I put it in a system. Then what did I pitch? A different system, because that one didn't work, right? And then what did I pitch? Towards the end, what was I saying? Right? I was getting better at communicating the value. And to put it in better terms, right? So this is how I used to talk back in the day. Pretty awesome, huh? Look at that. 512 milliwatts per square centimeter. Right? Look at how big is it? It's 10.9 kgs. It's 40 by 20 by 36 centimeters. Right there, nailed it. Exactly how big it is. Exactly how heavy it is. Do you know who understands that? If you get off this campus, turns out nobody. Right? No one thinks in metric, number one. Number two, definitely no one cares, right? So what did I have to learn, and what do you need to learn as well, is to stop talking like a geek, right? And start simplifying it. Can anyone understand those 3 bullet points? Kind of, sort of. You guys are jaded because you actually know what a watt is. Turns out most people don't know what that is either, right? But at least I figured out how to take all the complexity and distill it down to something simple. And that was pretty good, and that got us through the first several years. But when we really got good, we learned how to do this. So what's the difference between those 3 different potential value props? Oh, and you should probably just look at the one at the bottom. I guess that's the military-specific one. What's different between that last one and the first one? Did I use the word fuel cell? Why didn't I use the word fuel cell? Fuel cells are cool.
Well, everyone knows what a fuel cell is.
Yeah, no one knows what it is, true, but why didn't I use the word fuel cell?
They want to know why it's useful and what the application is.
Yeah, no one cares, do they? Do you really care? Do you really know how this works? No. Do we care how this works? No, not really, not at the nitty-gritty levels, right? Right? We're just happy that it works because this is a tool that we use to accomplish something. Right? Surf the web, send email, whatever you do. Right? And it's the same thing. Until we learned how to talk about the benefit to our potential customer in their own language, we were not very successful. And that's really kind of the basis of what we're trying to teach of the Center of Entrepreneurship is primarily we've been helping engineers. We're excited to be here today because we want to branch out to other campuses like yourselves and helping to bridge between research to benefit. Because when you can do that, right, a lot of good things happen. I know a lot of you are interested in positions or roles or jobs, if you want to call it. Of course, in the cult of personality, when everyone talks about the entrepreneur story, it makes me sound really smart, doesn't it? Do you know what? I didn't do that. No way in hell I did that, right? We had a whole lot of people. A lot of people. And as much as you guys think it's challenging to get a job, I assure you, having hired a lot of people, it is a bazillion times harder to find people. You have no idea how much time and effort companies spend to find the right people. The challenge is just figuring out what right people means. And that's what you have to figure out. And so